coming back around, Ray, I'd be interested in what areas do you think are going to be like the biggest areas of change in the life cycle of the property management life cycle of a house? Where do you think the biggest needle movers are going to be as it relates to Chat GPT and machine learning and AI?
I think Steve said it super well. What are those things that you want predictably to happen every single time? And in property management, like Matthew, you were talking about like your rule book that you built. Like when you try to get people to act more systematically and like things like every time, like anytime this comes in, do this, or anytime repair goes that long, do that, or anything like that. Those are the very super easy ones that it's going to change. I think one of the bigger things that we're going to see, our ultimate vision is to be able to collect enough information to start making proactive repairs or replacement suggestions well before they're needed. The very odd thing about maintenance, it's a shoulder demand business. Whereas in the summer months, you'll end up consuming 50% of your vendor or technician resources in 3 to 4 months. And so what that does is that drives costs through the roof, that drives resource constraints, that causes speed of repair issues. And so the thing is, if you can start to get more intelligent about what needs to be replaced or repaired on those shoulder months, it's pretty significant in terms of cost reductions. And just to give you one very specific example of how that, the average cost of an HVAC repair rises by about 45% just by the fact it was done in June versus March for the same exact repair. And so that's a pretty low-key way to do it that requires clean data, but AI is super, super well equipped to do.
Yeah, totally agree. Like smoothing out the work orders, that especially if you have an in-house maintenance team, smoothing that out across the fall and spring season when work orders go down, people are outside, they're not flushing toilets, they're not running air conditioners. Yeah, totally agree. Matthew, I'd be curious your thoughts about where do you see the biggest areas of change as it relates to this type of technology?
Yeah, so I see what GPT really did was make huge advancements in natural language processing. What NLPs is what the smart people at the company call it, right? And so what you have now is the ability to use natural language to ask a question and get an answer. So if you think about that as it applies to like using a software product, right? Today, we have to use keyboards and a mouse to navigate the software, figure out where to go and press the keys in a certain order to get the output we want. In the future, I think you're going to see a lot more software that you can just ask it what to do and it does it, right? The UI is less important over time. And that's going to be incredibly powerful for onboarding new users, changing the usability of the software to be more accessible to more people. And even think about, you might have a question about, I don't know, how much money did this person pay 3 weeks ago? And you have to dig and find a report. You can now use natural language, which will create a SQL query that asks the database the question and just serves the user the answer. So I think like software usability and the speed to get done what you need to get done is going to dramatically change. I also see this as like communication, especially in property management. You all spend most of your time communicating. Allowing to have tools that speed up your communication, make it more professional, really accelerate communication, I think is going to be dramatic in how effective you can communicate at scale and have less people that ultimately need to run communication. Like we have a couple products where at the end, like the consumer doesn't know that AI is the one that's communicating with them because it's so powerful. And you always need humans kind of monitoring this in the background, right? But if a human has to touch 1 in 20 communications as opposed to all 20, right? Efficiency speeds up quite a bit. And these GPT models that are out there are just like absolutely so different than they were 6 months ago. It's quite incredible how effective they are.
One thing I've been thinking about is the way manufacturers approach lean manufacturing. We as company leaders need to approach this kind of like they approach lean, meaning we're not doing this to get rid of you. because you're actually going to need your team to help with some of this. But we're doing this to be able to scale and not have you doing the monotonous tasks that you're often asked to do. Thinking about it through that lens, and that's the whole idea of lean manufacturing is we're not going to replace you. We're not going to become more efficient. That's the way they say it. We're not going to become more efficient and get rid of you, because then they wouldn't help you implement it. You want to make sure that you're saying, we're going to grow this business. And obviously the people that are listening to the podcast or listening to the webinar want to grow their business, but being able to do that with just the team that you have.